Hello everyone, my name is Shivani Tyagi, your philosophy and ethics teacher. So today we are going to discuss very important philosopher in UPSC. So Wittgenstein and Kant are two philosophers which we should like learn thoroughly, understand their philosophy very deeply. So I am coming with early Wittgenstein philosophy right now, and then later on we are going to discuss his later Wittgenstein theory. So both these philosophy are different. So basically he tells us that how language should be, and his book's name of early Wittgenstein theory is called Tractatus Logico Philosophicus. So basically in this he writes what language and logic should be, on what basis language should be, that it should be like exactly like reality, right? And he also gives us picture theory in which he tells us that language should be like pictures are, there should be like resemblance. So basically, like in pictures, how we see ourselves, exactly same features, same us, right? And just by looking at picture we recognize that this is the person in this picture, right? Like totality is there, right? So this is what he says, this is how language should be, like properly how it is in facts, how it is in reality, right? And it should be like based on logic, it cannot be doubted, right? So this is what he talks about. He explains that how language should, it should be expressed, and talks about how nonsensical languages are there. And he talks about that there are languages which can be shown, which can be not shown, and these are the things that he talks about. And in later Wittgenstein theory he refutes all his philosophy. Now I think he's the philosopher, a philosopher who gives us theory and then later on criticized it, saying that like language should be like on everyday basis, like how we are saying it, and it can vary from person to person, right? So first understand what he says. So his idea was to limit to language and thought. So all those language, all those words, all those sentences which are not meaningful in reality, which are not going towards the logic, which are not understandable, we should limit them, we should diminish them, we should remove them from our everyday life. This is what he's saying in early Wittgenstein theory. So he believed that philosophy should clarify thoughts, not give theories. So basically he says that language should be very precise, how we are actually seeing it, how we are actually verifying it, how we are actually knowing it. So on basis of this, language should be known, right? So thoughts, so all those things which are like ethics, morality, right? So these are the things which cannot be doubted, right? Like logical things which cannot be doubted, that's how our language should be. So basically he says that ethics, emotions, morality, values, all these things, they cannot be like known to us by the words, right? We can only like express them. And if I take example of pain, then pain can vary from person to person, right? And our pain also vary, how I'm having a headache and arm ache for certain reasons, burn sensations, right? So these are different like variation of pain, right? So this is what he says, that it varies and we cannot express them with language, right? So these are the things that which cannot be known by language. So he was born in Vienna, studied under Bertrand Russell. So he was student of Russell and influenced by Frege. So these are the philosophers that we have to keep in mind while writing his answer. And early work was about logic, language, and reality. And focus was how language connects the world, how it should be used in our daily life, and all those nonsensical language which are not making sense to us should be removed. Now let's understand on what basis he said and what theories he gave. First is seven phrases. So in the seven phrases, he explains that how language should be, on what basis it is, and how it should be verified. He talks about that language should be exactly as we are actually seeing it, we are perceiving it. So on the basis of that, he makes that it is that is the case, right? If I can see tree in front of me, and with that I'm verifying it, and there are people who can verify it too, and with logic, it's with reality. So that yes, it is that is the case, like this is based on factual and logic, right? Then facts and atomic facts, he says that language is something which can be like broken down atoms now, right? So at that time atoms were the smallest part. So by taking reference of atoms, he says that language is atomic, right? They could be broken down, and by breaking it down we can understand the language. And then he talks about logical picture of facts, that Logical picture, he talks about that language should be exactly like logic, right? Same as logic, our language should be presented in our daily life. Then he talks about that it is a proposition with senses. If you can verify it, if you can see the ball in front of you, if you can see me in front of me, then you know that you are watching me, right? If there is a tree in front of me, then I can verify it, right? But if there is a theory, someone else said it to me, right? Then can I verify it? Yes, by going over there and seeing it, that yes, there is a tree standing over there, and that person who told me about it was actually right. So by senses. Then proposition are truth function by eliminatory propositions. So these are eliminatory. So those words which are connecting and making theories more, understandable. So this or and he is talking about eliminatory propositions. Then they proposition share logical form. Rules of combining propositions. There are connections to it, right? Then whereof one cannot speak, therefore one must be silent beyond language. So this is a very important philosophy of his, and sometimes questions come from here only, that they'll give you this statement of his Wittgenstein, and they'll make you explain is early Wittgenstein theory and later Wittgenstein theory, like it was seen in this year paper, that later in early Wittgenstein, both were combined, and they were told, to explain this theory in one go. So if you are practicing Kant and later Wittgenstein theory, make sure that you are practicing it enough, because it takes around 5 to 6 minutes 5 to 6 minutes to write one answer. But if you are preparing such topics like Wittgenstein, Russell, and Kant, and few Indian philosophers also, if you are covering such paper, if you are covering these thinkers, then it will take like 5 to 6 minutes. But if you are like preparing them enough, then it will take around 4 to 5 minutes, 5 minutes max, right? 5 minutes max. So now imagine you are like saving at least 1 minute over here, and that 1 minute is going to help you. So make sure that you are going through all these philosophers very nicely. Read them again and again, practice their answer enough, right? Prepare their examples before only, so that you can write over there, because it's very important that how you're coming with the presentation, how you're coming with the examples, how you're preparing with that. So make sure that you're coming with all the pointers in one go when it comes to Wittgenstein, Kant, and other Indian philosophers. So we'll discuss about Indian philosophers also very soon, all those philosophers which are important and has been repeated, and I'm going to come with model answer also. So in the comment section, you can tell me which philosopher I should come up with first. Okay, so now let's understand these one by one. What did he say? Defense of common sense. What did he say? Defense of common sense. He says that ordinary world exists, everyday facts, trees, people, events, right? You are seeing me, right? And I know that there are people around me. So these are what? These are like ordinary facts, right? These are everyday facts, they cannot be doubted, right? Because they can be proved factual, right, by reasoning, by senses, right? So these are which cannot be, and senses, right? So these are which cannot be doubted, right? Example, there is a tree outside my window. Now I'm sure that even you are seeing certain things around you, and you can verify them. So this is what he calls defense of common sense, right? Then he talks about that common sense truths are basis of reasoning. There are certain things which cannot be doubted, which cannot be questioned, and with this we understand that yes, these things are true, they are basis of reasoning, right? Some truths are basis and presupposed by that world exists, right? I am breathing. So these are the questions which shouldn't be even asked, right? But philosophy does. And he questioned those philosophers only. Wittgenstein asked them to stop it, because these creates nonsense in language. He says that these type of questions, sometimes asking that if I exist or not, like Descartes asked. So even he called, like he went against Descartes' theory also. So he says asking such type of questions which are based on reasoning, which are based on common sense, is stupid. So we should not do that. Philosophy should not do that, right? Then he says it should not be, there are things which should not be endlessly doubted, right? So, and then, if you are doubting some things which are existing, which are based on facts, which are based on logic, if you are doubting them endlessly, then you are actually, doubting those facts itself. It creates like chaos in the philosophical evidences, right? So reasoning, if nothing exists, then it is impossible without assuming existence. So basically like the Descartes, right? So Descartes asked if I am existing or not. So there are certain philosophers who asked, one whose theory is, on based of self existence, right? So he said that if you are questioning this, if you are questioning your existence, then how come you are thinking all of it, right? So this is based on reasoning. He says that reasoning is something which helps us to understand the world in a certain way, and they should not be touched, they should not be questioned, and they should not be verified, because they are verifying it themselves only, right? So this is what defense of common sense is, that there is some sensical things that are present and we should not doubt it. Understand? Now we have refutation of idealism. Now idealism, who are idealism? Idealistic philosophies comes from that, from mind, that ideas are present in our mind, right? We have read this and like learned about idealism a lot. I've covered so many philosophers with this theory, so I'm sure you know that idealism is when you think that ideas in our mind are present, right? And he refutes those philosophers, right? So he says that world is made of facts, like I said in before, that logic, facts, reasoning, common sense. So these are the like characteristic of his theory, right? So he refutes idealism, saying that these are not mental ideas but are made of facts which can be broken down, which we understood by his atomism theories that I explained you in proposition. This third proposition was that, right? Then facts exist independently of perception, right? So empiricism, if you remember, uh, empiricism is someone who's verifying all the knowledge through senses. If I can see something, then it means it is there, the existence is there. If I am not able to see anything, then existence is not there, right? Then solipsism, now I explained this in my previous class also. Solipsism is who is self-centered. Self-centered, right? So one who is talking about himself. So who is solipsism? Descartes, right? The rationalist philosopher who was talking about I think, therefore I exist, cogito ergo sum, right? So if you remember, this was a philosopher who said it, right? So solipsism collapses into realism, into reality, right? So into reality. So solipsism collapses into realism. So this is what he wanted to say. Now, till now, we understood that his defense of common sense, he was, he rejected solipsism. He said that how important it is to verify logic on the basis of daily life, and we should like put some rules and regulations. And he is going to come with the idea of games also later in later Wittgenstein theories. So there are certain things that we understood about Wittgenstein. Now, in the comment section, you will tell me, except Descartes, who is the philosopher you think that we can connect to him? I'll be waiting for your answer in the comment section, and I'll be coming with his next part very soon. Thank you.